we're in a boiling the frog situation right now, right? And so if we wait until we have absolute undeniable evidence that something f***y is happening, it's too late. The frog's done been boiled. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for coming back if you've been here before, or hi, welcome if you're new. My name's Mickey. I'm a therapist, and we talk about therapy things on this channel. Today, we're talking about the inherent link between thinness and fascism, because conservatives have never had an original thought in their whole lives. I am a therapist who treats people with eating disorders and body image issues, body dysmorphia stuff, self-esteem things. I've also done my own work around those things, and so this is a topic that feels very important to me. It's like near and dear to my heart, if you will. So we're going to talk about it because I have big feelings and there's some like real fucked up shit going on. So as always, we're going to go over the facts and the science and all that kind of stuff. But we're also going to talk about how to protect yourself and your silly little brains from fascism and conservatism and whatever. First of all, I think we should get real honest. Like, let's enter into the trust tree together. Let's just be very clear that our societal fixation with the clean girl aesthetic, with quiet luxury as like a concept, and also with influencers like Nara Smith and Ballerina Farms, honestly, people like Emily Mariko too, everybody else in that niche, all of that doesn't have anything to do with us suddenly developing an independent desire for sad beige turtlenecks or homemade Coca-Cola. It has a lot more to do with a societal push and like the insidious desire to sort of uplift and promote things like thinness and wealth and whiteness and femininity and health. And there's a lot of like really gross underpinnings to why that's happening. Okay, so you guys saw the title of the video. I don't think that we're really dazzling or delighting anybody by saying that all of those things are historically related with the rise of fascism. However, I know that there's a bunch of you who are going to be really mad at me because I'm talking about the subjugation of women and really anybody who's not like a cis, white, hetero, wealthy man, and especially because it's coming out of a big, fat, queer mouth. However, sit down and shut the fuck up because the show is about to begin. I have a lot of interesting factual information that I want to share with you. So let's talk about fascism. First of all, Exhibit A. I want to talk to you guys. If I had to be subjected to it, then so do you. We're going to talk about Benito Mussolini and his fascination with this concept that is called the new man. So unfortunately, because Mussolini cursed us all with the existence of fascism, we have to talk about the guy. We're not going to cover fascism in its entirety because that would take for fucking ever. We're going to zoom in on the concept of the new man because he had this weird fixation with being perceived as athletic. There was like a constant assault on the eyeballs of these photos. I'll show you some of them of Mussolini skiing and playing football and horseback riding and fencing and just standing around being sweaty, shirtless. Truly a horror show. But he did this to establish himself as like a superhuman prototype of the ideal Italian man. I'll show you guys some of the stuff that I'm talking about. But there are I'll spare you some of the cringy details. But the point of this is that the new citizen, the new man thing, this was meant to instill the belief that there is an ideal Italian person and that person is athletic and strong and therefore war ready. And all of that was achieved by participating in sports. I know that this sounds sort of cuckoo bananas. It is. But Mussolini was pretty emphatic that in order to achieve a perfect fascist society that all people must abide by and agree to this belief. So of course, this is why Mussolini started indoctrinating children, because nothing really says like I have the undeniable truth on my side, like brainwashing children before they have the chance to become independent. So they created this thing called the ONB, the acronym stands for Italian words, and I'm not going to subject anyone to that. The ONB was created and then used to indoctrinate children and trained them to essentially become warriors, right? Obviously, the subtext of this is that mostly this applied to children that were assigned male at birth. But of course, women and girls were still subjected to fascism and oppression, were never spared from the indoctrination. So adult women began participating in sports. However, first of all, notably, I think it's kind of funny, the Catholic Church like really took issue with this because they, and I quote, thought incorrectly that sport could have impaired the integrity of reproductive organs. It's like when two people that you really hate are both wrong, but that didn't stop adult women from being subjected to participating in sports, but they were only allowed to participate in sports like gymnastics and swimming because it trained them to be docile and fertile and submissive. The ONB did also allow young girls to participate in sports because they said that these children, and I quote, were destined for a future as perfect wives and mothers capable of bringing into the world future generations of strong, robust Italians, which sounds an awful lot like fucking eugenics and racism to me. Let's put a pin in that. I want to talk to you guys about Exhibit B, which is the Hitler Youth. In his undying originality, Hitler yoinked most of his hateful talking points from Mussolini. And he also asserted that the new man was slim and slender, quick like a greyhound, tough like leather, and hard like Krupp steel. Apparently, Krupp steel is a German steel brand. I don't know. It doesn't matter. As you are all aware, I'm sure, the Nazi Party established the Hitler Youth, where they did the same thing that the ONB did, which was indoctrinate children because, again, whatever. So sport became, let me read you this. Sport became the instrument to raise the Aryan race to its maximum potential through physical training and discipline, the purpose of which was to show the world Germanic superiority, which again sounds an awful lot like fucking eugenics and racism to me. I'm sure to you, unless you're fucking cuckoo bananas also. So Hitler also had this like super weird fixation with the Olympics. That was the whole thing. We're not really going to go into that. The point is, at this point, I know that you guys are probably like, Mickey, what does this have to do with Hailey Bieber and her claw clips? Listen, this abridged history lesson is simply to demonstrate that historically, the rise of fascism is very much associated with a heavy belief that racially, politically, morally superior people were people who are athletic, who are healthy, who are attractive, because that made them more superior warriors, like army, cannon fodder kind of people, but also superior child bearers, people who would bring about a new generation of genetically superior people, right? So the reason I'm bringing all of this to your attention, because again, historically, all of this is sort of like lumped into one thing. When we see the rise in one, we often will see the rise of the other. So now let's consider historically, we as a collective, how do we identify people that we think are not you and me, but you know what I'm saying? We think are the most healthy and fertile and athletic. It's thinness. Yes, there you go. So the reason that this is important for us to talk about is because the clean girl aesthetic, crusty ass ballerina farms and her country ass cosplay, the quiet luxury thing, right? The trad wife thing, especially, all of those seem to center people who are thin, who are cis, who are hetero, who are seemingly affluent, because remember, we live under capitalism now. All of those women are seen as healthy, fertile, morally superior, right? And so that then, knowing that that is true, what are we also seeing a simultaneous rise in at the same time? Alpha male culture, which is gross. We have a video incoming on that, and that's a whole thing that's like super upsetting. But doesn't the idea of a thin, delicate, docile, submissive white lady wearing an apron and no shoes and a baby sound an awful lot like the things that we just described? This is not Dora the Explorer. I will answer the question for you. It does. It does, in fact, sound an awful lot like that. And listen, I want to be clear. I know that there are also people who are like, you're fat, you suck. The thing, I want to be clear that I am not trying to say that simply because there's similarities between thin people being uplifted in the clean girl aesthetic or quiet luxury or whatever, and also thin people, athletic people being celebrated by fascism means that we should like ring the alarms. The fascists are coming, right? We have to consider the greater social context around that also, right? The greater socio-political context, of which is a fucking terrible time. Like, look around. I don't think I really have to demonstrate that. Surely I don't have to show you headlines about that because it's very obvious at this point. Let's play a fun game. I want to read you a quote. Everybody close your eyes, or don't. You're an adult. I'm going to read you a quote. We're going to guess. Is this quote said by someone from today's political context or from the 1930s? Some of this is going to be redacted for obvious reasons. So this person believed ideal men to be superior to democratic men, Marxist men, and liberal men. The ideal man, he wrote, is a type who rejects culture, who stands firm in the middle of sexual and alcoholic depravity, and who dreams of bringing to the world a physical discipline with radical effects. This person was also contemptuous of delicate souls who refused to employ harsh military or political measures when they were required. Surprise, it's from the 1930s, but it does sound an awful lot like we're not snowflakes and Dems, beta cook soy boy libs. Does that not sound exactly like that? It does. For what it's worth, also, Nazis did glorify the concept of youth because of its natural strength and resilience and all of this stuff. And they also justified horrific acts of fucking violence through the struggle to eliminate decadence, is what they called it at the time. Decadence and spiritualism being like, two opposites, and spiritualism is what they were trying to save, right? But decadence was associated with materialism and hedonism, but also humanitarianism, rationalism, skepticism, atheism, and political, economic, and gender equality. All of this is sounding very familiar. Again, the reason that I want to bring this to your attention is not because I am trying to demonize people who enjoy claw clips or dewy skincare, right? That's not the point. The reason that we're talking about this is because the greater socio-political context around a rise in like an aesthetic like this signals to those of us who are familiar with history and trends that bad things are happening. We need to be very aware of why socially, at this moment in time, there seems to be a very concerted effort to uplift and moralize the concept of thinness and healthiness, right? Thinness and healthiness are often conflated. That's not real. But what is different about this is the idea that there are certain people who are more worthy of being alive, people who are more worthy of succeeding, people who are more worthy of taking up space in the world. And so by accidentally and implicitly sort of, agreeing, complying with this aesthetic and therefore its underlying accidental values being widespread, we are then participating in the normalization of things like eugenics. Okay, so I think the question then is sort of like, what does this mean? What are we supposed to do with this fucking information, right? First of all, I want to encourage you to be careful about the way that we allow social media to influence us, right? Covert messages from content creation can very much manipulate us into believing, again, that there are certain more moral or healthy or worthy people, and that therefore the people who don't fit into that aesthetic deserve to die, deserve to suffer, deserve to be marginalized, deserve to be oppressed, deserve to be disappeared, right? Obviously, I think the clean girl thing, quiet luxury, right? Even the idea of being like a stay-at-home person or stay-at-home parent, wanting to be like a homesteader or whatever, right? All of those things are fine, right? If not maybe a little unimaginative on their own, they're really not that dangerous. But the thing is that without a critical lens, we do end up taking those underlying values as the capital T truth. And especially because we've talked about this in the QAnon video. If you haven't watched it, it's a banger. Go watch it. I'll put it up here. I'm telling you, we reference the QAnon video in every single political video that we make on this channel. Go watch it. There's a lot of wonderful foundational information in it. And while you're at it, click the subscribe button, by the way. But the problem with this is that pipelines are very sneaky. If we're in a boiling the frog situation right now, right? And so if we wait until we have absolute undeniable evidence that something fucky is happening, it's too late. The frog's done been boiled. So we have to be very aware of the gradual rise in temperature and be very vocal about it. That's why consuming media, social media with a critical lens is incredibly important. If we wait until that moment, then we have already missed the boat. So again, I want to encourage you to consume media critically and ask why the person who's making that content might have a stake in you taking that content to be true, or you liking them, you continuing to watch their content, right? Because something that might start as homesteading might turn into we don't vaccinate our kids, might turn into we don't go to the doctor, might turn into we don't believe in fucking government, right? That might turn into the people who hosted an insurrection are not really that bad of people, right? We need to be very careful about where along the way we might get lost. And again, I want to be clear, often when people present this content to you, rarely, if ever, are they going to come out of the gate swinging being a fucking flat earther, right? There are going to be small dog whistles in their content that are clues, essentially, to like, ooh, I'm in danger, right? Be very aware of those things. Okay, so at the top, I did promise you that I was going to give you some advice about how to protect yourself and your sweet little brain. Let's talk about, first and foremost, healthy skepticism. Healthy skepticism across the board. At this stage, healthy skepticism across the board. Being healthily skeptical does not mean being paranoid. It does not mean being aggressive, and it does not mean being an asshole. It does mean withholding your full support of somebody's content, their character, the messaging that they're giving you, until you have learned enough about this person to really get a feel for their general, like, underlying values, right? I want to be very clear about the distinction there, because paranoia and skepticism can get conflated sometimes, and that is not helpful. That is not true. Paranoia is actually a tool of propaganda. Do not be a paranoid, paranoia is not helpful to you. Healthy, logically founded skepticism is. Skepticism, whatever, you get it. The other thing I want to encourage you to do is prime your algorithm, baby. Get in your algorithm and actually search things that are part of what you believe in, right? So search for content creators who are outspoken leftists. Search for tips about being XYZ, right? Prime your algorithm to show you the things that you want it to show you. Obviously, we want to be careful of creating accidental echo chambers. You get it. And the way that we engage with our social media often informs the content that we're being served. And so while you may really enjoy canning vegetables, right, also be clear with the thing that is feeding you content recommendations that I don't want the people who are canning vegetables and think that the earth is flat. I want people who are canning vegetables because, like, fuck the government, but not in that way. You know what I'm saying? Be very clear with your algorithm about those things. It can be very helpful. Along with that, talk about things. Please, God, I'm begging you, talk about, just generally, talk with your people about how are you doing, right? Like, that's important. And talk with people about the shit that you see happening and going on. The thing that is most useful in moments like this where, you know, we're seeing some really scary things happen with our government is that we can be vocal and communicative with our community and with our support system at large, right? Being silent is a tool of the oppressor. Be vocal, be communicative with the people that you love and trust, and be willing to get uncomfortable in having those conversations. Speaking of being uncomfortable, one of the best things that you can do to protect yourself and your brain is to work on your shit. And I know that that's an unpopular answer, but listen, it's very important. Pipelines work by exploiting your pre-existing biases and your wounds, right? So if I'm a person who has a wound around my body image and my physical appearance, and somebody tells me that I have the answer for how to give you your self-esteem back, and it's by chasing this really unhealthy diet regime or by adopting all of these aesthetics, which then, you know, maybe we'll sort of soft launch a couple of things in there that are eugenics based or based in fat phobia, that's a problem, right? The way that we protect ourselves from accidentally falling down pipelines like that is by working on our shit and being very conscious of what is showing up for us, because if we become aware of that and we seek support around it, then when somebody sells us fascism as the solution for our insecurity, then we're a lot more resilient in that. I want to be very clear. Please don't misunderstand the point that I'm making in that, again, I do not want you to be paranoid people. I am not trying to fearmonger anything. And the reason that I'm making this video is that I want people to be more apt to critically consume content and look at things through a different lens, especially when people say, like, it's not that deep. It is. It is that deep, actually. It is, especially right now, right? People are suffering. People are being marginalized. It is that deep. It's very important that we be vocal about that we be honest about that, and that we participate in not getting sucked into a fucking pipeline where we end up, you know, I keep saying flat earth, but you get it, like on the flat earth side of the fucking internet. So healthy skepticism above all is going to be really important here, but not paranoia. Please, God, don't misunderstand. Don't, you get it. You get it. I trust that you get it. If you guys like the video, you can like the video. You should subscribe to the channel because we have fun content like this. We also watch trashy reality TV every Friday, so you should come hang out with us. There might be a brief hiatus because I'm moving, but we'll get back to it. And then share the video if you want to help the channel grow and help each other grow. I'll see you guys next Saturday. Okay, bye.